Hey, what's up, guys? You are about to watch the full 70-minute interview with Justin Brock on how to scale your Medicare business through marketing. It's absolutely incredible. If you guys want, we've actually done quite a few videos with Justin. We have compiled those videos up into one little vault area. If you guys want to check all those videos out, you guys can access those videos in the link down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed the interview.
This is going to be a fun one. It's 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, and wherever time zone you are, it is whatever time it is in your time zone. I'm going to do a quick intro. I got Jerry here with me, as always. And listen, if you guys are in the Medicare world, then this other dude with the pretty shirt, this dude, he just needs no introduction. But if you haven't experienced the sweet residuals of Medicare, here's a real quick, short intro for you. Justin Brock is known as the Medicare guru. He has built a practice where he's become a Medicare sales and marketing expert. Then he built a team that really kicks butt. And now he educates agents like us on how to start, how to get more than profitable, and how to really scale up their Medicare business. So I'm speaking for all of us here, not just Jerry and me, but everybody listening, when I say, dude, I'm super, super grateful to have you here, Justin. Welcome, brother.
I'm grateful to be here, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I could come on tonight, and I am sorry I'm in my house. My wife, even though I told her long ago I had to do this, she's like, but I gotta go play tennis. So you gotta go you gotta see the kid, watch the kids. So if my kids bust in the middle of it, or my dogs do anything crazy, just ignore it.
Dude, my kids will probably be in at some point in time. Dogs are upstairs. It's all good. So I'm gonna, and don't mind me with the beer. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. My the most important question I can ever ask you, Jay, is how does it feel to be a guru, brother?
Man, it's not a self-given title, but I guess that makes it better, right? Everybody needs to be a guru at something. So mine just happens to be something that's really cool.
It's crazy. Tell me, how did you get started into this wonderful world of Medicare? The evolution of one Justin Brock?
Yeah, so Medicare, for me, started out, my dad was an independent agent. So I was in the Marine Corps, and I was trying to do the cool job thing with the appeal. And I decided that wasn't the life for me. And so I was like, well, my dad's doing all right. I'm going to go see if I can try my odds at Medicare. So it was a pretty, just normal start to it. But pretty quickly I realized that the way that other people had been doing Medicare, with the whole direct mail route and sitting in living rooms and all that kind of stuff was not going to be the way that I wanted to do it. I figured there was a more efficient way and a way that didn't require me to drive a Corolla around at 110-degree heat with 96% humidity, knocking on people's doors, trying to get in the house. I just not the path for me. So then, we just started shifting to, digital strategies and all kinds of different stuff over time. And, fast forward, some other goofy stuff in there for a long period of time, and now I'm the Medicare guru, apparently.
Hey, not a bad title as long as others give that to you, just like you said, as long as you don't give it to yourself. But now it's you, bro. Own it. It is what it is. Question for you. You're in the Marine Corps. How does your military training and probably the discipline you developed there, how do you kind of apply that to your business? Because I imagine that we have a lot of folks who are kind of have similar backgrounds.
Yeah, I actually wrote an article about it a while back called 7 Reasons Why Veterans Are Cut Out for the Insurance Industry. But I think, there was a lot of there's a lot of like when you're 18, you're often not ready to do anything in the world. And so college for me even would have been a misstep, I think, because I didn't need that freedom. So the military kind of like just forced me to grow up a little bit, and doing that, I did it for 8 years. So I think the structure of it, and also maybe even learning what I didn't want to do for the rest of my life, over time. Like I didn't want to work for somebody else. I didn't want other people to, I respect the military's, command element and hierarchical structure and all that. But after I felt like, okay, I'm a full grown man now, I don't want to be told what to do all the time and feel like I'm some sort of second class citizen, So I think that it almost like created some structure that helped me, also forced you to lead some other people, because after you stand for a while, they give you people, and that's weird at first, like going from being a peer to being somebody's boss. So it helped me figure out ways to lead without being a complete asshole. I think some people think like being in the Marine Corps, I was probably like this just real asshole, but that just never was my style. So that's why a lot of people are like, tell me, I could never see you being in the Marine Corps. I was like, well, it's pretty much just like I am now, but with like a high and tight and a little bit better bone structure. But I don't think it did anything crazy for me. It probably really helped me get through that, and having a wife through most of that period of time helped me not screw my life up so that I could be where I am now. Because from 18 to like 24, people just make terrible decisions. So I think the military was good getting me through that hurdle.
Oh, that's true. She kept you on the right path. So
every time I screw up, I'll just be like, well, I got to get back on track because she's depending on me.
Right? Yeah, you can't screw up too terribly bad. At least not the same thing twice in a row. What about, so why did you get into Medicare and not something like final expense or like another sort of health insurance or annuities or some other sort of insurance field?
I can't take credit for that part. A lot of stuff that I've done on my own. But when I got into the business, my dad did tell me straight out of the gate, Medicare was what, the renewal base of Medicare is what you need to build upon. You don't need to go after that quick life insurance money. And even initially I started kind of, using those warm market life insurance requests, and I'd be like, oh man, I can make quick money here and here. But overall, I just kept initially buying these direct mail leads and laying a foundation of Medicare supplements. And I was extremely glad that I went down that path, because you don't really understand residual passive renewal income until you have basically chased it for about 2 years. And then you start to feel the full weight of that renewal chain catching up to you. And you're like, oh, I didn't write a lot this month in comparison, but I'm making more money than I ever did because I have all this 2 years worth of stuff behind me catching up. And then it's just something people can't get after. When they try to like crunch a number itself, they don't understand it because they're comparing it to like a whatever final expense commission. But I talked to so many guys that chase the fat upfront money, and they're just extremely, like after 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, some of them are telling me like, man, I wish I'd have went after Medicare all that time. I wish or at least cross sold it, because then you'd have, this massive residual chain to build your entire business upon. And that's what you could use to start hiring other people and kind of building yourself out of the day-to-day grind. There's a million different ways to talk about like scaling out of a business, but residual income coming in makes it a lot easier than if you're having to always chase that next sale.
That's a really good point. And with a lot of our clients, we talk about not just selling for now, but like what can you, like if we help you generate your leads, what can you actually use that for? Of course, the obvious answer is making more money right now, but can you grow your business? Can you hire others? Can you like really scale, expand, invest the money into another kind of profit center? Like that's really cool. I never thought about that with residuals though. That's awesome.
It's awesome. So even like no matter what kind of business I get into, I just tend to chase the residual side. I mean, we do some cross selling of life insurance and annuities and things that give you some of that bigger upfront money. But even like when I'm looking at ancillary products like cancer or dental, I love the ones that have long term residual trails because it just feels like you're building out a permanent asset. And basically, like we could shut the whole. Not that we're going to do this, but we could shut the whole business down, and you would still have years and years of residual coming in, because it's not like all my customers are going to just call and cancel right away because I got out of the business. So you'd have years of, a ton of money coming in after that.
That's cool. Take me through, like, is there a way that kind of a newer agent who doesn't have a lot of money in his piggy bank, is there a way that they can start with Medicare, or would you suggest them to kind of start with final expense and then kind of build Medicare in kind of slowly over the same time? How would they kind of like work it if they needed income to pay the bills?
Yeah, so if you look at averages on, like, okay, what's his name? Lee Mowry at One Life told me that One Life's average final expense policy and premium is $800, and the average commission is like 115%, let's just say. I mean, obviously some people are at 135, 140, 145, whatever. But if you do the math and you look at it, that's about $920 on one final expense sale the first year. The average agent is having a 30% fall off, which may sound crazy, but it's about a 70% stickiness rate for 13-month persistency. So they're really ended up keeping about $644 of that, for the first year, right? So the average Medicare supplement with a street level commission is bringing you about $315 the first year. You can take, with a lot of companies, a 15 to 18 month advance when you're getting into it if you wanted to. And the stickiness rate is way higher than final expense. It's just because it's healthcare. It's not like somebody can say, well, I got to cancel that because I got to pay my bills and I'm probably not going to die for a while. Because if they cancel it, they're canceling their access to doctors, which feels more personal to them. And they think I'm probably not going to be able to get it later on. So the stickiness rate seems to be much higher on the MedSup. So basically you're looking at it right in about 2 MedSups to equal what you're really making on an average final expense sale. So it's 2 to 1. But, a lot of times people get really, really, I don't know what the right word is here, but there's some inappropriate ones that came to mind. But they get kind of like drunk on that like quick money, and it's not even really real in the final expense world, because 70% stickiness rate on that is about industry average, which is crazy to me. And then they're getting that fat upfront money, but then the next year they're jumping right back in trying to get that fat upfront money again. With Medicare, it's basically about 24 months in, they would have a residual trail that was the average final expense agent income for a year after 2 years. So it's basically making the conscious decision that I'm going to make a little bit less for the first 2 years, even using the same final expense agent style system. They're going to make a little bit less the first 2 years, but then year 3 and beyond, they'll make more than they ever made writing final expense. And you can still cross sell some final expense to make make up for that the first 2 years if you wanted to. But I know plenty of final expense guys and life guys that went into the industry and made more than me the first year, made more than me the second year. I don't know a lot of final expense guys making more than me now. So, it's just about deciding where you want to be in the industry, what kind of freedom you want. And I think getting into the insurance industry, one of the biggest selling factors is residual income. It's not, it's not a transaction based industry. I don't look at it like retail or e-com. I look at it like, trying to build out a permanent business that pays me for the rest of my life. I think that the people that go in life first are almost being duped because the recruiters are they need that override margin to create their passive income. And so the actual agent that's on the hamster wheel creating that passive income for the guy that's getting that huge rip in the first year off of his commission. They're creating residual income for the pyramid. You see where I'm going? I mean, and I'm not like, I know sometimes I always come across and find these guys are so sometimes standoffish towards me talking about it, but honestly, I just real passionate about that because I've seen so many of them that wish they would have pursued Medicare earlier on so that they could take a break. Oh, I'll tell you, this story comes from when I first started kind of mentoring agents. There was a life agent that told me he won an incentive trip and like his second or third year in final expense. And he said he was down in like Cancun or somewhere, and he's in a pool at this resort, and he's really trying to enjoy himself. But all he could think about was, I can't spend a week down here in Cancun because I got to get back up and make money, because he didn't have any of that, like the residual money coming. You know, he had to get back on his racehorse and find the next sale so he could keep that money coming in. And anytime I go on incentive trips, anybody that's followed me for a while, up until Corona 2020, we were going on about 3 or 4 a year, and I just never felt that pressure. We would have residual income coming in, and it just was awesome because it feels like a freeing, it's just like being free, having that passive income and being able to take off. And if you knew me, like I was talking to you guys down in Florida, we just took, even though Corona's going on, we got all these trips canceled. So me and my wife went and went down to Florida. And of course, I was telling to over the phone. But the cool thing is you're able to kind of take a little bit of a load off and relax a little bit because you're not worried about how am I going to make sure I pay my bills by getting back up on the hamster wheel.
Yeah, man, I saw you selling in Florida, but it seemed like it was because you wanted to. It's because kind of like.
I was trying to motivate my team a little bit, tell my team like, man, even when I go on vacation, I sell. So like when my top agents, go on vacation, I'll be like, look, I wrote 10 apps while I was down there. I'm not telling you have to do your normal 25, but while you're down there, I've set the standard. Like you at least got to do 8 to 12 apps so you can just fall in line.
Yeah. Can you take me through a lot of the agents that we work with? They're looking at a path to at least mid 6 figures. So could we reverse engineer, like if you have somebody who wants to make say 300 a year in residuals, like realistically, what sort of activity level and what sort of time frame that would look like for, again, not a killer, but like an average agent who does the right thing, is pretty persistent and gets better.
I think even following like an old school direct mail route, even no matter what your marketing platform is, a realistic number if you went after MedSups and Medicare Advantage would be at least about 5 apps a week. So if you're looking at 5 and then you're taking a couple weeks off, so you're looking at about 250 applications a year. The minimum renewal on that at street level would be about trying to add it up in my head here. 250.
That's on live TV.
255 times 250. We got 63,750 in residual income that you could add annually, just on kind of an average, not recruiting other agents, just going at it and doing it. So if you wanted to look at 300,000, basically you'd be taking. That's like, I feel like on a 5 app a week run, no cross sales, no overrides, complete street level. So it's a pretty conservative estimate, but about 4.7 years you could be at about 300,000. And that's not cross selling anything. That's just consistently averaging 5 apps a week. And you would average higher than that in AEP to make up for maybe falling short a couple of weeks here and there. But then you could literally walk away and for a year, and you'd probably still get $300,000 that year. So it's a whole different, it's building up an actual asset that continues to pay rather than, a client book that doesn't hardly give you anything. I mean, our Mutual of Omaha final expense renewal is like 1%. It's like 130 whatever first year, but it's 1% after that. So, that's not, it's just for us, it doesn't make sense to go after that and Medicare too as a conversation isn't as much salesy as it is like finding people that, to help through that choice. Sometimes you're not even like in the Medicare Advantage market, which we do a lot more in the Med Sup, but even in our Medicare Advantage market, a lot of times it's not even like having to get someone to pay for something because a lot of times the premium is zero. You're just having to get them to want the benefit package that is there and sign up for it, not even have to pay for it. So it's a lot easier sometimes to do that than to get someone to pull their checkbook out and put something on bank draft. So I think it's a great market to go into, and there's an explosion in need for it because I can't remember the timeline, but it's like from 2017 to 2027, we were on a run rate to go from 38 million Medicare beneficiaries to 75 million by 2027. So 3 years into that, we're somewhere like 54 million Medicare beneficiaries, but basically we're going to be adding about 21 million people on Medicare over what's already on Medicare in the next 7 years. So it's a market that's rapidly expanding.
Dude, that's cool. So now we got to talk about, so we know we've got some opportunity here. We know that this can be actually something where, yeah, you're not gonna kill it your first year, but you're building up for the future, and the future can look pretty damn good. So let's talk about how to reach these people. So you were kind of like an early adapter in the internet marketing game. Because there's really two ways to do it. You can, just like you say, you can drive the Corolla out in either 100-degree heat or 20 below zero in like sliding on ice, or you can do it in boxers and gym shorts and like a tank top. So how are you doing it, Justin? Like what are some ways that you're marketing?
So now we do a lot of things. We're doing Facebook, we're doing Google, we're doing local television. I mean, we're spending a lot, but we're doing a relatively small, lean and mean office with like four really writing agents and a few support staff, a couple of which are licensed. We're consistently pumping out about 62 has been our average lately applications a week in the off season outside of AEP. So we're pumping out a lot. We're spending about $32,000 a month on marketing, but the juice is worth the squeeze. But early on, when I was trying to transition from Corolla days to trying to, not go that route, I didn't really want to sit in the cigarette smoke houses and deal with the people that respond to the direct mail cards. So first thing I did was back in 2015, Facebook, I started messing around with post engagement ads. Like this is pre-lead ad forms. This is before they even had a lead ad form on there. And so I started messing with Facebook post engagement ads, and that market was really right because there weren't a lot of people utilizing it back then. So like the attention was super, super cheap, I always think it's great to be early, but you never know what to be early for, right? So I didn't realize how good I had it at the time, or if I did, I'd have spent a lot more money on it. But we were doing post engagement ads on dental, and I was actually lining people up buying dental policies like crazy and then cross-selling them med sups over the phone. And my dad, who was kind of like paying attention to me, was like, wow, who would have thought Facebook would have people like actually buying stuff from it, and in record volume really for the number of applications. Well, then the lead ads platform dropped, which if anybody that knows anything about the different nuances of Facebook advertising, there's a lot of things to it. But when lead ads first came out, they were amazing because they were pre-populating people's stored information from Facebook directly into the ad form. So to collect their information and call on them was very, very easy. And so that's what I started doing, was transitioning into that lead ad. And I was getting high quality leads. A lot of people will tell me this is high, but like $9 and $10 a lead. But with closing ratios probably in the 30% range, so it was, the cost to acquire a client was extremely low. And again, I didn't even realize how good I had it. Now looking back on it, I realize like anytime something's that good, exploit the hell out of it, because it's probably not always going to be that good. It might get a little more expensive to play in the pond when everybody else starts fishing in it. So, but it's still good. We still are using Facebook now, and the thing is, you just have to continuously evolve your strategy to not be the spammy looking ads, and so a lot of times, like with lead ads, what I think happened was it got spammy because it was the same people doing the same ads, replicating it over and over and over again. It just it didn't look as good as it used to, and you started to see the cost rise and that diminish. And so since then, we've tried a ton of different things, like, chat bots and mini chat before they had like the big change. We've had, just a billion different ways to do it. I mean, even honestly, like every time we'd run ads and people would like posts, we'd invite them to like a page, and then you would just boost posts to the page followers to get them to call. And honestly, there's so many ways to do it and they all work. And what I try to tell people about marketing is everything works a little, nothing works a lot, except occasionally something works a lot. And that's the thing you should, really push your money into while it's still working. But yeah, that's what, I used Facebook to plunge into that digital world where we're doing things over the phone. And since then we have, enhanced a lot in a lot of different ways, because I want traffic from as many places as possible. But Facebook was that launch pad into the digital world for us.
That's awesome. And so running a lot of final expense stuff for folks, like we're finding that same opportunity market. Strangely, I guess it's just a lack of penetration, but in Canada for final expense, Facebook, you're all over it. Things are incredibly cheap and people are buying at like crazy levels. But I imagine as our clients are getting successful, like other like bigger companies are going to start to figure it out, and we won't have these super killer $5 leads up north for that long. But hey man, feast while you can, right?
Right, yeah.
So if you were like, dude, if you were going back, if you were kind of like a new agent and you were doing things for yourself, or you had like guidance from you or guidance from us, would you be able to pick like the first strategy to use to market it, just so you can stay, instead of like shotgunning it, you can kind of stay focused on one thing to kind of master first?
I tell everybody that I would start, if I'm starting over again, I'd start with Facebook. I think it's the most individually controllable platform. It's the one that you could enter into with pretty much any budget and scale at your own pace. It's the one where you can actively engage the people that are responding to your advertisements, so you can kind of create as much out of it with as much time as you want to spend nurturing the audience. So I think it works. It's just the easiest and the lowest threshold to get into actual digital marketing. Getting into Google AdWords and all that stuff is it's extremely intense and complicating stuff. Even YouTube ads for us, like that kind of stuff is. But Facebook is a world that you can get into, and you can play in with the big boys, and they kind of level the playing field to where, some, billion-dollar company doesn't really have any advantage over me. So I think it's definitely the first platform that I go into.
Sounds like the first platform and the second platform that you kind of recommend to start. Are you, when you're on Facebook, you're advertising, is there a certain type of, like, are you doing subs? Are you doing Advantage? Like, is there a better product line or a better consumer for this?
Yeah, so we love going after Med Sup. I think a lot of people are going after Med Advantage, and we go after both. We've written, more Medicare Advantage this year than we ever have. It's an exploding market. There's super increase in product offering. So we are doing both, but the MedSup client is cleaner and typically kind of knows more what they're getting into. Sometimes it might cost a little more almost to find that prospect, but then closing them over the phone is a lot easier. Now, if you're going to go to their house too, I really wouldn't care if it was Medicare Advantage or MedSup. Then it kind of levels the playing field. But doing Medicare Advantage over the phone is kind of difficult. It can be done for sure. You just have to be aligned with the right people so that you can utilize the right software and make sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to do it over the phone and stay in Medicare, I'd go after MedSup. And I'd also dispel the myth that the MedSup market is decreasing, which seems to be shared on Facebook a lot. The MedSup and the Medicare Advantage market are both increasing because of the sheer volume of people that are going on to Medicare right now. And Medicare Advantage is increasing at a pace slightly higher than MedSup because of the introduction of dual eligible plans for people with Medicare and Medicaid that didn't used to exist. And those are spreading so rapidly, it's making Medicare Advantage really, really explode. But there's so much opportunity in both markets that you could go into either one and do well.
Awesome. So it seems like from what you're saying, though, if somebody's starting, they're going on Facebook, they're doing Medicare subs because it's easy. Like a lot of our crew, honestly, they just don't want to drive out. They don't want to drive around. It's easier. You can hit an entire state. You can hit a few states. And that way, if you're successful, then you can start to scale your money because Facebook becomes a jukebox. Put $1 in, get $8 out. Cool. How many times can I do this over and over and over again? So you've got more opportunity to kind of like to do that. So when we're talking about going down the MedSup on Facebook rabbit hole, might as well. What demographic would you recommend our crew kind of like target out?
Really the demographic is pretty simple for us. We do 64 plus, and then you can also do a sub-target audience of 64 with a birthday in the next 6 months. So you can say age 64 with birthday in July, birthday in August, birthday, you know what I mean? So you're sitting there and seeing the people that are aging in the next 6 months. Then you just have to constantly change that audience to take off. Like if we enter July, you want to take off July because you don't want the people that are turning 65 in July of next year. You don't want that in your small targeted audience. But those are the two big markets, 64 plus and 64 with those birthdays in the next 6 months. Another thing to consider is a lot of people talk about just this insane amount of targeting that's done. I haven't really seen much of a difference in hyper targeting. So like using special targeting, people who like the AARP MedSup page or people who like Humana on Facebook or people who like Medicare. I haven't seen that really do much for us. I think it's just casting a wide net and maybe geographically targeting heavily where you want to be. It doesn't mean you have to be targeting right where you are, but be specific in the geographic territories that you want to really put your money into.
I gotcha. That's always, so we're letting Facebook's algorithms, well, we have a date, we know it's 64 plus, we're getting close to 65. They've got to make a decision because of open enrollment, but then besides that, you're kind of like letting Facebook's algorithms figure it out for you. That's pretty cool. Love it. Less thinking, more doing. That's awesome. Are you a fan of like, do you just advertise to cold traffic, or are you doing kind of like a cold traffic video view, like an IBB, and then retargeting them? Like how would you suggest that the crew sets things up as far as traffic wise?
Yeah. For us, right now we're seeing some good results with landing page conversions, but the leads are a little bit more expensive. The closing rate seems to be a little bit better. Earlier, I alluded to a 30% closing ratio. That was early on. Now we're probably seeing about a 14% closing ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the traffic that we're going after right now is we're not trying to just push mass traffic. We're going to that landing page conversion or supplementing lead ads to try to get as many as possible in there. It becomes kind of a guessing game whether volume is better with a lower cost per lead or a higher cost per lead with higher intent. Again, I don't really see much of a difference, like, because my closing ratio may be higher, but then the lead cost is so much higher that it just depends on the agents. Like, if you have a newer agent, you might want to just give them a higher volume of cheaper leads to work so that they can kind of polish their skills anyway. And then as they get better, you don't want to tie them up on the phone with the wrong kind of people as much, so you pay for a higher intent lead. But that gets into kind of like when you get into routing your leads within multiple agents in a room. And that's kind of just an art that you're constantly tweaking as you're managing that lead flow. If you're getting them for yourself, then that's almost like a personal call. Like, do I have a lot of time? Then maybe I want a lot of leads, and so I want cheaper leads through lead ads platforms. Do I want a higher quality lead and to pay more for it and not have to spend as much time working them, and I can afford the difference? Then maybe I'm going after that landing page conversion. But either way, it all works. And I would be interested in your knowledge on the chatbot side of getting the Medicare lead a little bit higher intent as well.
Yeah, so and that's interesting because it's a question, at least for like our one of our top tier programs. It's called Agency Accelerator, and so you have regular Facebook ads and you have chatbot ads, and really it comes down to, I think, a time thing, because the chatbots, yeah, they're going to be a lot more expensive, but you're going to have a lot more targeted conversations. Through the bots, we get people to pick up over 40% of the time on the first call, which is really, really cool. Your game, on one hand, your game doesn't have to be quite as good because these people already know who you are. They know it's insurance. They kind of like you. They see a picture of your family and your reviews and all that fun stuff. But on the other hand, each conversation is going to cost a little bit more money. In the end, there's guys like, I'll just like throw out like Danny Ray. He doesn't really need chatbots because he's going to sit there. He's an absolute killer. He can take regular Facebook ads and he can do a tremendous job closing them. For me, I was always of the thought, well, I don't want to make as many calls. I want my conversations to be real high quality. I can close people with rapport all day long, but to take them from cold to closing, I wasn't that good at. So when we're signing folks up to help them, it's that conversation on like, okay, what are you comfortable with? Where do you want to be? Where do you see your time? Where do you see your efforts? And do you want $8 leads, or are you cool with $23 leads? And I think it all kind of, you're right, it's an art, it's not quite a science, and it's different for everybody. But if it all gets you to the same point, doing it, whether you're going to go strategy 1 or strategy 2, it's a lot better than doing nothing and just shotgunning crap out.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, that's the same thought process I have, but I'd like to see what those chatbots can do to the leads like that we're already getting, to kind of nurture them out. So and I think we're working towards understanding that.
Yeah, that's a cool project. I think that'll be fun. We'll discover some stuff. And I mean, I've done lots of, you too, like we've both done a lot of testing where we think it'll work and it's fallen flat on its face. But hell, you learn something from it and you move on. And you have other times where like, I don't know if it's going to work or not. And then it works out really well. You're like, whoa, that worked. Rock on. Okay. Who'd have thought? The answer, I think the answer is always testing. Test. And have the balls to put some money behind it. I think that's kind of where it's at.
That's probably my biggest takeaway for a lot of people is you got to spend some money to make some money. I mean, and people that are thinking they're going to get to that next level, holding their wallet real close, like they have to save every little dollar they make. There's never going to make anything, because you have to get to the point where you are creating something, whether it's technology or people or mail or something that is doing the work for you while you're sleeping or while you're not working, because you only have so many hours in a day. There's only so many cold calls you can make, so many doors you can knock on. You have to have something working for you. And Facebook is just one of the easiest things to get working for you.
Dude, that's awesome. That's great direction. And for you guys who are listening, I hope you guys are like writing down, you're taking notes, you're really taking this to heart, because I mean, Justin isn't just talking about it, he's doing it. And this advice, bro, I'm super grateful again for you, like kind of sharing this stuff, because it would be really easy for you to just say, oh, dude, it's kind of like my secret. I'm not telling you, but you're real open, man. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've just never been that way. I like having the conversation, and I like seeing other people be successful as well. And there are a lot of fish in the sea, so it's not like we're all going after the same one client or something.
Yeah, we need more than 24 hours in a day to be able to help everybody that needs it. Oh yeah.
Sure.
So
How about
seems like a good time for a quick question. What is the benefit or desire to focus on MedSup versus Medicare Advantage?
So for me, it's a couple of things, but the obvious answer would be the less regulation in the MedSup world. So you're not having to kind of dance around CMS rules. Which is not really a reason to ignore Medicare Advantage. It certainly has its place, and as a practice evolves, like ours, even though it's 10% of our book, we have 15,000 clients. So you're talking about 1,500 Medicare Advantage plans still. So we don't avoid that. But the back end reason that we would focus on MedSups is MedSups have very low service work. People can go to any doctor they want to, pretty much, and almost everything is paid for. Well, those people, even though they're paying a premium, they don't typically complain. And I even have them coming in and they're like, my premium keeps going up, but can I get anything else? And if we tell them that, because of health, they can't get a better rate on their MedSup, but they can get a Medicare Advantage plan. And then we explain to them that Medicare Advantage plans have a network and a co-pays and, maximum out of pockets. A lot of them just decide, no, I'd rather keep paying more than have to deal with that. So it's the product is so good that it kind of takes the long-term pressure of swapping people, back and forth off. So I think it's probably for us, the lower service work would be the primary answer of why we like MedSups. And secondary would be the lack of intense overbearing regulation standards.
Cool. One more question. We have two guys answering on the same thread. If there's a person like me who doesn't really know anything, what is the best place to start? And is there an agency you recommend?
So from an SMO standpoint, for us, it always depends. Like we recruit agents, for instance, but I'm not the guy that like just recruits everybody. I always kind of want to look at someone's specific needs, where they're at in the industry. Do they already have a sales machine that works and they're just trying to introduce Medicare, or are they completely brand new and green? And I kind of recommend them to go to different places based on what I think would be better for them. And sometimes I say, well, you sound like you'd be a good fit to work with us. And then, I talk to them as well. I don't think that's there's no one size fits all. There's not like the best hierarchy out there. There's just the best one for what you're trying to accomplish at the time. They all excel in different things. And I don't think any of them are bad. They just all have their own expertise. And many of them, unfortunately, cast a wide net and try to recruit everyone. And they're not all the best for everyone. They'd kind of be better off, I feel like, just going after, their ideal prospect rather than just saying, we take all agents. But so that's the agency question. And the first part of that, like if somebody was going to be new, there are several websites. And I don't know, I didn't ask before, but we have one that we're working on and that is take somebody kind of from being completely green in Medicare to the fullest depths of understanding Medicare, called Medicare Academy. It's actually Medicare.Academy, but I haven't officially. It's not out there, but there are some other ones out there too that people that have Medicare like universities or Medicare sites that can kind of take someone through the gauntlet of learning all the Medicare stuff and what they have to do. Um, but if you can get like sometimes, depending on the person, they'd almost be better off going through a local agency to learn because they might have more time to train them, depending on that local agency. So it's such a loaded question to me because it really depends on circumstance. I tell people this: if they message me on Facebook, I will be completely 100% honest with them on what I think about it, and find out like, but what is the best deal for them. So and I think you'd ask anybody that's worked with us, we don't hold people's contracts. We don't. That's just not our thing. So if somebody decides they want to work somewhere else, we grant immediate releases all the time. Here I am on the record saying it. That's just what we do. I don't, because it's not our primary source of revenue. And there are probably just as many, if not more people, there are more people that have reached out to me for contracts and to work with that I have recommended to somebody else because I personally don't have time or the like capacity to take a brand new agent from, I'm a brand new agent to being a rock star under my wing. I'm not saying they can't do it on their own because some people are that way, but most of the time I recommend them to an agency or a FMO that has like people on staff that can really dedicate that time to them if that's where they're at. So anyway, if somebody really was curious, they could message me and I'd give them an honest answer.
Awesome. Seems like there's a lot of options out there, and you said it's funny you said there's some agencies who are probably more recruitment based than like quality of sales based. So I don't know. We could probably go down that rabbit hole. Yeah, just keep keep your eyes open, guys. Like ask a lot of questions. I think that's a big thing right there.
Yeah. Well, one of these days, I'm going to make a video about like the top 3 promises that should be red flags from an FMO, because there's a lot of people that promise. I'll tell you number 1, free leads. That's a red flag.
Dude, they're never really free.
They're never free, or they're just basically 3-year-old data. That somebody's saying, here's some leads, and people, they're not leads. Or if they are leads, they're 5 years old. So
does that kind of like stink? Am I making too much of a fuss about it? Or does it kind of like reek of kind of desperation? Like, I need an agent so bad. We'll just give you stuff for free and hope that you're not going to get an experienced agent to bite on it. So you're going to get these rookies to come in. I don't understand the long-term psychology behind that.
I don't understand it either because okay, you take somebody who doesn't know any better. So clearly they're not like some kind of great producer. And then you spend time contracting them and then you give them crappy leads that nobody could really do a good job selling. And then, because they're basically just 5-year-old internet data or something. And then you expect to like make a lot of money off overrides on these people. And I don't understand it. But more power to them, I guess. Somebody has to recruit the brand new green agents and eventually they learn that they're probably somewhere they don't want to be. But somebody has to train them on something. So hopefully they're taking them from green to blue and then we can pick them up and take them to gold. So.
That's a good way. They're a good doormat for you guys and the rest of the industry. I just got a couple more questions, then I'll let you go. Do you think it makes sense to build a personal brand? Like now, I guess I should address it as far as maybe kind of in the newer agent who's starting to market this online or who wants he's doing okay and he wants to scale a little bit better. Would you do like kind of brand building, or do you think direct response is the way to go?
I think that brand building should be a portion of what people are doing, especially with Medicare. we focus a lot on it. I think that a lot of people think that there's no, there's no sense in branding. I've heard this a lot from final expense agents, like these people don't care about a brand. And I'm like, then why is Alex Trebek on TV all the time? Like clearly they, talking about final expense. Like I think that they definitely do. And if you become that like kind of local branded resource, now I don't think there's a lot of effort or a lot of sense in becoming a national brand. It's just too expensive. There's people that are doing it successfully, but they're dumping millions of dollars into it. But to become like a local brand is something that, 3, 4, 5 years down the road after you've been pursuing it, I think will really come to fruition. Now you can't dump all your money into that, not seeing any returns. So I would say 80% of your marketing effort should be on direct response, and maybe 20% should be on some sort of branding in the beginning. And that probably flips over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you see like maybe like one or two things that agents are doing when they are trying to build a brand in the beginning that you kind of like look and you cringe? You're like, you're kind of wasting your time and your money here. Is there anything not to?
Like especially in the beginning, just boosting Facebook posts. I'm not saying that doesn't have a useful thing. Like for me right now, I have a large brand. So if I just want to kind of be in my audience's face, I might boost like a video that I did about something to my audience, just like my captive audience. And it's just, I feel like I'm just nurturing this large share of like my clients and warm prospects. But when people get into Facebook ads and they just immediately like, now what do I do? Do I just boost posts? And then they'll spend hundreds of dollars boosting posts. I think people going for one billboard right away, pointless. Like that's pointless. I'm not saying billboards are a joke. I believe in them. I know a guy that's got like 25 of them around the Chicago area about Medicare, and he's been running them for years and spends like $1 million a year on them. But the dude like does tens of thousands of Medicare applications, so it's paid off for him. But it's like a real marketing effort through billboards. But what I see a lot of people is, and I even like had an agent the other day. He's like, "Hey, I just got an unemployment back check for $7,500. I was thinking about getting a billboard right in the middle of town. It's $950 a month." And I'm like, that is not like, he's brand new. And I'm like, that's not going to warrant you anything. It's going to burn through that little $7,000 nest egg you have super quick, So, yeah, I see some mistakes. Those are two that come to mind.
Dude, all right, don't buy billboards. I would have never thought. Didn't think that was a thing. That's cool. But hey, you have a guy who's absolutely crushing it. Like very, very good at life. Multiple billboards, a lot of spend, making a lot of money. But he's set up for it. It's not the first thing he did.
It's like, I don't know if you ever seen I Love You Man. Was that with Jason Segel and Paul Rudd, the movie? Where he puts those like billboards around town, and they're like clever real estate billboards with like him doing this, and he's like got all these edited. And I'm like, yeah, if you were in LA and you wanted to spend $1 million a year on billboards and you were selling real estate and you plastered them all over town, eventually, like I could see the potential of it paying off, but how many millions of dollars are you going to spend to get there? And like, I mean, there's a guy named Alexander Shunera in Alabama and Georgia and Florida, like that has billboards. I think he has like 20,000 billboards or something that he buys, and I don't know what he's spending, like 250 grand a month on these billboards deals or whatever. And he's a lawyer, and he brokers law deals. So people call him, and then he like farms it out to these other lawyers, and he gets a cut of it. But how, I don't understand, like how much did he sink into that before it paid off? I'm sure it's paying off now because he's been doing it for years. But I don't know. Most people don't have, $1 million sitting around to burn through before the payoff. Most people need a payoff pretty quick before they, so they can keep investing in that strategy. And so I think direct response is the way to go, at least until you have a a customer base and then start really pushing into some of the branding so that eventually people are just calling you. So, but it's a flip. You're investing into this side to get the engine going, and you're slowly investing some of your profits into that long-term branding.
That's cool. Leads me to the next question. I only have like two more. So next, almost. Are you okay with time, by the way? Are you all right with the question? All right, sweet, man. For those who are like really looking to rip it, and we talked about numbers earlier, but say that 250 policies a year kind of threshold. We know what it's going to get you if you're just consistent, you get better, and you kind of follow the directions and do what you're told. But Justin, what sort of an investment would you say an agent needs to have to get at that level in the beginning? Are you talking like 100, like what we recommend, just to give context, what we recommend for our final expense agents is that they spend about at least a starting point of $100 a day in Facebook ads so that they can not only crank it, but they can screw up, they can get up again, and they have consistent lead flow, and then they can scale to a good number. What would you say they'd be at?
I would be right around the same mark. That's where I try to tell people. I mean, I've told people like you could get started for $5 a day. In 2015, you could, but like now it's kind of like throwing money at the wall because lead cost is typically more than that, and so what are you going to get, like one lead every 3 days on that budget? So you really need to get some leads going so that you can figure out what the quality of them is, so that you can tweak it to hopefully tweak quality, and then also learn how to work those leads better as well. So I'd say $100 a day is a good starting point. If people can commit that to it, they're really going to find out what they're capable of, and of course, when it works, you're paying that $100 off very quickly. When you're closing something. So, and that doesn't mean you're spending $100 on a lead. Hopefully, you're getting them way less than that, but you're hopefully getting 5 to 10 leads a day off of that, so that you can learn how to work them. So yeah, I'd say it's right around the same for Medicare.
Sweet, man. That's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, I know there's a lot of like marketing companies that say, hey, you can spend $10, $25 a day, but that's not really, that's not, unless you strike oil, right? You hit gold. It's a lot more likely that you're not going to have that volume to understand, for Facebook to learn, for the algorithm to learn your ads. Like, if you believe in yourself and you want to make this business, your business, you got to go all in, I would think.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. How do you have like a specific strategy, Justin, to market, like kind of cross market Medicare and final expense?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure. Do you have a strategy to kind of sell final expense to your Medicare clients, or open up your Medicare clients to life insurance or annuities, or kind of like cross-sell, cross-market at all?
We do, but what we actually go after a lot is cross-selling dental and cancer policies, because we're keeping it all in the healthcare sector. So we create the need within the Medicare discussion for coverage, for additional coverage for cancer and additional dental, vision, and hearing coverage. So, like in a typical, we call it a silver bundle, a typical like new to Medicare person, we're making, I'll just tell you, if that person's $1,200, I'm just gonna use street level commissions so you can kind of get an idea. 252 plus 70 plus with a drug plan plus that average cancer policy plus that average dental policy. So if you do the way we talk about trying to pitch it, and that client, that ideal turn to 65 client, you're making about $822 first year, but then you're making about a $400 renewal for years after that every year. So that kind of brings it up to being like a final expense sale the first year, but with a Medicare style renewal on the back end. We do cross-sell final expense and annuities, but normally what we do is we try to pitch the healthcare side and keep that conversation separate, because like I always kind of make fun of my guys. They're like, I could have sold him this, I could have sold him this. And I said, well, you should have sold him your car too while he was in there. Like, after you sell 4 policies, like, I mean, how far can you really press it before it just gets tacky? And so what we do is we say after that healthcare stuff part is over and we've done as much as we can in that, we say, by the way, we work on, final expense, burial, life insurance, term life insurance, and annuities as well. If you have any need for that or you're looking for that, please let us know. And probably like 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 people that you say that to is going to bring something up. And we kind of talk about, seen some people on Facebook say BAM fam, book a meeting from a meeting. So we're trying to say, well, hey, let's set up another time to talk about that. You can bring in your policy, because that gets into that kind of discussion where you're looking at, like, I need to look at what you have before I can, and that's why so many final expense policy or agents are going in the house, because they go in the house, they find, the policy that they have in the house, they can get it and look at it and say, oh, you have this much paid up insurance, this much cash value, blah, blah, blah. And you can do all that over the phone, but sometimes it's easier when you can force them to kind of get out their policy. Well, we just tell them to bring it back to the office, or, if we're doing it over the phone, we just book another time and say, yeah, we'll talk to you, next Thursday at, whatever time, and just make sure you have your policies handy so we can go over them. But that's how we do it. It's more passive, but we still sell, a good bit, and we do a lot of annuities off of that as well. So a lot of people, are going after annuities and life insurance and doing less annuities and life insurance than we are, just because of the volume of Medicare we do, getting those passive costs.
Well, I would also think that I think you're succeeding in that kind of with that strategy because you're acting as their advisor at that point in time. You're not just like, let me sell you a bunch of shit. You're saying, yeah, what can we do?
I even told one of our agents today, like, why didn't you sell him your car? Because he said he sold him, a silver package. He was turning 65, or silver bundle, and he got in 4 policies. And he's like, I could have got him life insurance, and I said, yeah, just sell him your car while you're at it, because I just, I'm completely satisfied with 4 policies. Like, if you sold everybody 4 policies, you'd make plenty of money. Like, you don't need to do any more than that right then. Like, you can bring up some of that other stuff and maybe they'll come back. And we're even opening a home and auto division of our office to cross-sell our book, but it's not about cross-selling them at the same time. I don't want to sell them 4 health policies, a life policy, an annuity, home and auto, liability. Like, that's ridiculous. Then that just reminds them how many stupid insurance policies they have to have. And then by the time they're out of there, they're probably thinking, why the hell am I paying so much in insurance? Like, because they're starting to put it together. So we don't recommend that. I try to keep those conversations separate, even if I'm trying to write it all in house. We're separating those conversations.
Dude, good man. This is like, guys, this is a freaking awesome strategy. Again, I hope you're taking notes and you're listening and really taking this stuff to heart. Last question I have for you, brother, maybe second to last. Is there any question that I haven't asked you that I should have? Am I off my game at all? Like, is there something that we should go into as far as marketing, ads, stuff like that?
There's a billion things, but I can't think of any things. I think that the trajectory of the conversation has gone where it is supposed to go. So.
Man, how edgy the trajectory, man. Blowing it up. Awesome. Well, bro, Justin, I appreciate you so much. I thank you for coming on. Are you cool to do this? Like, maybe kind of on a regular basis? Maybe next time go over some Medicare sales strategies?
Yeah, of course.
Sweet, dude. Yeah, this is fun, and this is eye-opening for me, and I'm sure for everybody who's watching. Again, if you're like, so I got some notes here, and I'm sure my crew does too. So what we'll do is we'll talk offline, and we'll come up with a time that works for you, and we'll have you back on, and we can kind of go deep down into the sales rabbit hole. And I mean, you're doing so well. I'm sure you're going to have some killer strategies for the peeps to kind of help them get off the ground.
Yeah, of course, man. Definitely.
Sweet, bro. Sweet. All right. Well, Dude, I've had you on. You've been here for an hour, and I mean, this is so awesome. So I appreciate it much. I know we're going to talk real soon. If you guys have questions for Justin, just go ahead and add them in the comment box below, and then I'll try to get them to him. Or Justin, you can go in and like answer anything. And anything like, how would if they have like a personal question for you, would you rather them like put a question in the box, send you a personal message, go to your website? How would you want people to kind of get in touch with you?
They can definitely Facebook message me, or you can head over to justinbrock.net too. There's ways to kind of reach out and submit kind of requests, and just look through like we have a lot of public YouTube videos on justinbrock.net that'll, go over a lot of things. I put a lot of info out there, for free that, people can digest. So I always tell people to start there, but anybody can message me with any questions. I enjoy, it's like a hobby trying to help people, hop over these hurdles in the beginning. So
That's awesome. I just don't want 1,000 people blowing you up at one time. That'd be kind of cool for the guru himself. 1,000 people hitting me. Awesome, brother, man. Well, I'm gonna try to figure out how to log us off here.